It's hard to imagine, but 1,000 years ago, Native American Indians like the Caddo, the Kiowa, and the Wichita farmed, hunted, fished, and lived on the same land that we call home. In fact, it wasn't until the late 1840s that the first permanent Anglo settlers moved in, enticed by opportunities for land as part of the Peters colony. Pretty soon, grist mills and related businesses followed. It was not until after the Civil War that settlement of the area began to pick up. The Arwine family came to the area in 1865 and settled on a farm that soon developed into what was known for some years as the Arwine community, located where present-day Pipeline Road intersects with Brown Trail. Pre-war ties with families from their old state of Indiana soon brought neighbors, and by 1881, the Arwine community included the Souter, Anderson, Brown, Robertson, and Sexton families, all of whom knew each other from Indiana and intermarried with one another. This collection of Indiana families, along with others from Tennessee and elsewhere across the post-war South, made up the mostly agriculture-based community that would eventually become Hearst. The Arwines' most notable contribution to Hearst's founding was in 1879, when they deeded 6 acres to the community for a school, a church, and a cemetery. Arwine Cemetery, with nearly 300 identifiable graves, was deemed a historic site in 1977 and is preserved as such today near the Bel Air Shopping Center. Another early settler was a fiddle-playing, storytelling character by the name of William Letchworth Hearst, popularly known as Uncle Billy. Uncle Billy moved into the area in 1870 with his wife and 7 children. In the late 1890s, Hearst moved his family into a house approximately 1 mile north of the present Highway 10, and he found success trading and speculating in land and horses. Uncle Billy made a deal in 1903 with the Rock Island Railroad that eventually led the community to take his name. He agreed to let the railroad lay track connecting Fort Worth and Dallas on his land, with the condition that a stop be established there and a depot built and given his name. The surrounding community was officially given the name Hearst in 1909, and the rest, as they say, is history. In the early 1900s, families were looking at ways to make ends meet other than agriculture. By the 1920s, the largest employer in Tarrant County was Hearst-based Fort Worth Sand and Gravel that made a business out of mining gravel from the nearby Trinity River. In 1927, Mrs. Jessie Powell began operating a library a few hours a week out of a locked wooden box in the cloakroom of the South Hearst School. Emma's Cafe opened in the 30s, operated by Emma and Richard Souter. It was a very popular stop on the Dallas to Fort Worth Highway, which is known today as Highway 10. In the early 1940s, many of Hearst's adult males went off to war, while the WPA built the Hearst School, which still stands today. Emma's Cafe and Grocery expanded, adding a post office to their homegrown operation in 1949, and son Bill Souter, home from the military, became the first postmaster of Hearst and would later become mayor. When Bell Helicopter announced construction of a $3 million plant on Hearst Boulevard in 1951, it was a major milestone. With a population of 2,700, Hearst was incorporated the next year, 1952. And in 1953, Hearst hired Joe Watson as a night watchman and the first police officer. He would later become the first police chief as the department grew. In the next 5 years, Hearst's population would more than double. The oldest continually operating business in Hearst, Hearst TV and Appliance, began serving the community with the latest modern conveniences. The original City Hall and police station, made of concrete blocks, was completed in 1955. 2 years later, in 1957, a 12-foot by 20-foot shack housing the city's first library was built next door. That same year, L.D. Bell High School opened its doors. More citizens meant more businesses, more schools, more homes, which in turn meant more citizens. And the cycle continued throughout the 50s and into the 60s. The city staff and the public library, except for the police department, moved into a brand new facility in 1960, where they stayed until 1966, when a new city hall was built. 3 city halls in 11 years says a lot about how quickly Hearst was growing. That same year, the neighborhood cafe began serving home-style cooking and is still doing so today, making it the oldest restaurant in Hearst. By now, Hearst was home to more than 20,000 people. Recognizing the needs of their growing community, the Hearst civic and business leaders convinced Tarrant County Junior College, as it was originally named, to open a second campus, the Northeast Campus, in 1968. To give its citizens a space for recreation and outdoor activity, Hearst opened its first and what is now the largest city park in 1969, the iconic Chisholm Park. Another major milestone was just around the corner when Northeast Mall had its grand opening. At the time, the intersection of 183 and 820 was a significant part in the selection of the site and has only continued to grow today. That particular interchange carries the largest number of cars on a daily basis of any intersection in Tarrant County. Northeast Mall opened in 1972 with 700,000 square feet and has since expanded to now almost 1.8 million, with nearly 200 vendors and anchor stores. Although it's not located within the Hearst city limits, when the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport opened in 1974, Hearst felt the impact from another new surge of residents, as well as the need for new and better roads to handle the increase in traffic. The 80s and 90s saw Hearst developing into a city truly dedicated to providing a higher quality of life for its citizens. In 1982, the Recreation Center was dedicated. Hearst Community Park, where the annual Hearst Stars and Stripes July 4th celebration is held, was completed in 1994. In 1996, the Central Park Aquatic Center opened and was joined in 1997 by the Chisholm Park Aquatic Center. Neighborhoods filled in the undeveloped open spaces. Schools were built to keep pace. Businesses opened and thrived. Turning the page to a new millennium meant more than buying a new calendar and throwing out the VCR. For Hearst, it meant a change in the focus of growth and development. Hearst was 98% built out and landlocked. The city's leaders had to now turn their creative strategies toward redevelopment, breathing new life into existing neighborhoods, shopping centers, older areas of town, creating new opportunities for growth in places that had not been thought of as growth areas before. Perhaps the first fruits of this new strategy was the conception and development of the Hearst Town Center. At the corner of Loop 820 and Precinct Line Road, Hearst Town Center was just the beginning of the Transforming Hearst initiative, a long-range plan to, as the name implies, transform Hearst, to inject new life and vitality into its neighborhoods, businesses, and public areas, while at the same time holding on to its community feeling. With plenty of space for most city offices and staff, the new Hearst City Hall opened in the Hearst Town Center. This new structure also housed the City Council Chambers. A service center further north on Precinct Line Road was created to provide a home for the Departments of Parks, General Services, and Public Works. Hotels committed to building just to the west of the new City Hall hinting at big things to come. The Trinity Railway Express opened the Bell Station, located on Bell Spur Drive in 2000, giving Hearst commuters a simple way to travel to downtown Fort Worth, downtown Dallas, and the DFW airport. The word junior was removed, and TCJC became Tarrant County College. By now, the majority of its student base and many of its faculty and staff were Hearst residents. The campus underwent both exterior and interior renovations and was experiencing annual growth rates of 5 to 7%. The Hearst Recreation Center and adjacent tennis center were given complete renovations and updates by 2000. In 2001, Northeast Mall completed its latest expansion up to the current nearly 1.8 million square feet. Plans were already underway for the shops at Northeast Mall, which would virtually surround the mall on its west and south sides, complete with its own anchor tenants. At the time, it was the largest employer in Northeast Tarrant County. By the late 2000s, the Transforming Hearst initiative was in full bloom. In 2008, Where We Live magazine made its debut. Published quarterly by the city of Hearst, Where We Live provides its citizen readership 50-plus pages of timely information about city events and services, wellness and health, senior services, the public library, special holiday events, recreation and parks, and much more. In 2014, Where We Live was redesigned and upgraded to serve the community even better. In an effort to open new channels of communication, the city launched the first government Facebook page in DFW and would go on to build one of the largest social media platforms in the area. Having been on the drawing board for many years, Heritage Village was completed in 2009. Heritage Village is home to Hearst Fire Station No. 2 and the first Hearst Senior Activity Center. The Hearst Senior Activity Center is 40,000 square feet of expansive, well-lit spaces for exercise, health and nutrition classes, meetings and seminars, arts and crafts, billiards and games, reading, and virtually any kind of special event. And it's nearby to 40-acre Hearst Community Park. Right in the middle of Heritage Village is a green space and amphitheater, providing a beautiful backdrop for several events throughout the year, as well as a home for the Historical Plaza. 2009 also saw a significant expansion of the Hearst Public Library. The program rooms north, south, and east were added, in addition to many other improvements and additions. The expansion was completed in 2011. 2010 was another major milestone for Hearst, with the opening of the new Hearst Conference Center, located at the western end of Hearst Town Center. By this time, hotels were open and ready. At 55,000 square feet, the Hearst Conference Center has everything needed for small, intimate events up to multi-day conventions, trade shows, and seminars, including modern lighting, audiovisual, and IT. This state-of-the-art facility quickly became an iconic landmark for the city. That year also marked the completion of the most recently developed city park, Mayfair Park. Located on 6 acres, Mayfair Park provides access for all children, including those with disabilities. And as a testimony to how successful redevelopment can be, Mayfair Village Shopping Center, located on Highway 26, went from an occupancy rate of 40% all the way to 90% after its redevelopment in 2010. Precinct Line Road was expanded, new landscaping was added, and new businesses followed. Planning for 12 more new retail and restaurants began for the 50-yard line area, northeast of the intersection of Loop 820 and Precinct Line Road, across from City Hall. The city named this vibrant retail area the 50-yard line for its easy access from the highway and most sought-after location for businesses coming to Hearst. The Transforming Hearst initiative continued to progress through the first decade of the new millennium, changing the landscape of the city for the better. The notable transformation of the city is due to a legacy of a forward-thinking city council who was named in 2013 the City Council of the Year by the Texas City Management Association. After many years of design and construction, the expansion of Highway 183, Loop 820, was finally completed in 2014, allowing for 40% greater traffic capacity, and due to the express lanes, a much greater efficiency in traffic flow. The shops and restaurants in and around the 50-yard line area were now open for business and ready for travelers on the newly improved freeway. Heritage Village residences opened adjacent to the Hearst Senior Activity Center, making it possible for active seniors to live in style, and right next door to their favorite activities and social events. There's even a shuttle bus to nearby shopping and entertainment venues. 2016 brought the Transforming Hearst spotlight back onto the Hearst Town Center with the opening of the Hearst Justice Center. This 97,000 square foot facility provides a new high-tech home for the departments of police, records, and dispatch, as well as a crime scene lab, a 40-bed jail, and 2 courtrooms. A 3-story parking garage adjoins City Hall. Also in 2016, the Chisholm Aquatic Center was renovated and reopened to the delight of citizens young and old. The Aquatic Center at Central Park is under renovation and is scheduled to reopen in 2017. Significant to the revitalization and redevelopment in South Hearst, the shops at Hearst received a huge boost with the opening of a neighborhood Walmart in 2016. This new addition has already attracted more redevelopment in the form of new businesses and restaurants and the renovation of existing ones. Another boost for South Hearst along Highway 10 was the opening of several businesses along its western stretch, including Grain and Dairy and Honey Love Cakery, both opening in 2016. As is usually the case, new growth attracts new growth, so this will be an area to watch. The work to transform and enhance Pipeline Road continues and is expected to be complete and begin reaping rewards in 2019. As the previous millennium began drawing to a close, Hearst leadership, both within the city and outside in the private sector, saw the need for change, for transformation, if Hearst was to move ahead. The concept of growth needed to be re-examined and redefined. It wasn't about throwing on a few coats of paint or widening a street or two, but about the transformation of a mindset, a way of thinking about moving forward. What you see now in Hearst is the melding of 2 streams. One, the result of more than 100 years of community history. The other based upon a revitalized and energized vision of what Hearst can be. While building upon its past, Hearst is being transformed for the future. Existing retail is being upgraded and re-energized. New retail and restaurants are filling old spaces and establishing new dreams. Streets and highways are being widened and beautified. Green is replacing gray. A fresh, new importance is given to recreation, and families enjoying it together. City departments stretch dollars to provide the maximum service for the minimum outlay. Safety and security is both high priority and high tech. Seniors have new opportunities to take full advantage of life, to reach for it, not settle with it. Corporate events can be more than just productive. They can be memorable. City and community leaders work together to see with new eyes and set new goals. And a community of people living together and striving for a higher quality of life can look back and hold on to those values and at the same time be ready for the future.